the center of Nigeria, the face of Nigeria, the insecurity is a lot. Even in the elite neighborhoods, people cannot go out at night. You cannot go for a walk without being kidnapped. So it is critical and vital to the survival of the economy of this country that insecurity should be taken care of, and everything else will fall into place. I so submit.
Thank you for keeping.
In commenting on the 2025 budget, I would like to align myself with our colleagues in thanking President of Federal Republic of Nigeria for considering defense as an important area. If we do not keep ourselves peacefully, I don't see how we can even do anything in Nigeria. In putting defense and security as a top priority, it means we will do a lot to go back to agriculture. Because once we go to agriculture, I would like to see where this budget will address some issue and put stimulus into banks like Bank of Agriculture, the Bank of Industry, so that we can put stimulus back to the economy. If there is no much stimulus in the economy, what we are preaching about in shadowing down the dollar or keeping the dollar lower is not going to happen. We must do more on agriculture where export production will be key to what we are going to be looking at 2025. And in praising Mr. President of the Republic, we have to pay more attention to the manufacturers. One of my colleagues, Ida Shemole, just said that, because in the manufacturing sector, capacity utilization is down. There is no stimulus in any sector of this sector. So, Mr. President, I'm appealing to you, President of Senate, to see how you can redirect some issues in this budget that will favor the manufacturers and all the rest of them by supporting Bank of Industry very well and supporting the other developmental banks that are within the region so that people can go back to manufacturing, people can go back to production. Because without production, we are not going to do much as a country. I also want to use the opportunity to appeal to you, what my colleague said, Senator Abubakar Sani Bello. When you go to our embassies, Mr. President have done very well in the last few months in making new friends for Nigeria and in making Nigeria to be center of world leaders to visit us. But Mr. President, we need to address the issue of our consulates, our embassies, and all the rest of them. They are in a very poor condition. These embassies need rehabilitation, and Mr. President needs to, as a matter of fact, put his representative, like he just went to Brazil.
Your time is up, Senator Ojikalu.
He just went to Brazil. He has nobody to continue what he has done. We need to put the ambassadors and wave finance and all the rest of them for them. So, Mr. President.
Time is up, Senator Abbas, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I have to back to what you said.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I'm Senator Aminu Abbas, with very huge financial provisions in the highlighted sectors. I don't want to go into the economics of the budget, but I was wondering how 1,500 naira for $1 will bring down inflation from 34% to 15%. I'll leave that to work out. Let me go straight to where I have concern. Mr. President, my concern is on the infrastructure proposed by Mr. President to be built in 2025. During the budget speech, Mr. President highlighted that Sokoto-Badagry Highway will be built and the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway will be built. I was waiting to hear that the President will build the Port Harcourt-Maiduguri Railway Line, which is the Eastern Rail Line. You will recall that I brought a motion here for the federal government to build the Eastern Rail Line, and that motion was co-sponsored by 35 senators. It was unanimously resolved that the president should build standard gauge rail from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. All the senators on that corridor co-sponsored that motion. So I was expecting a legacy project, Eastern Rail Line, running from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. But it does appear that it has been overlooked again. Looking at the budget...
We have not seen the details now. This is
I've seen the provision on land transportation. What we have there is 223 billion. 223 billion. We have looked at it, and it is obvious with the ongoing projects from Kaduna to Kano, Kano to Maladi, and other rail lines under construction, that Port Harcourt-Maiduguri rail line can hardly be there. So I want to draw the attention of the Senate to that. Let's hope that it is in the breakdown as you are hoping, but in the event that it is not there, I would like the Senate to intervene, because the government has just announced free train ride starting from 20th December to 6th of January for the holidays. There's no rail line in that corridor. So I pray that the Senate should consider
your time is off.
Senate should consider that project to include it in the 2025 appropriation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Hussein Babangida, then Senator
Oyewumi Kamarudin Olalere, Senator representing us West. So I join all the fellow speakers by congratulating Mr. President on the presentation of this very promising budget. I just want to emphasize something. As promising as this budget is, judging from what we witnessed in the implementation of last year's budget, 2024 budget till now, I think the emphasis of this Senate should shift to the executive, particularly in 3 areas. One is the procurement processes, releases from the Ministry of Finance, and then other agencies. Because as we speak, up till October this year, some agencies have not completed their procurement process on the budget that was passed December last year. So if care is not taken, this budget we are talking about, when passed, by this time next year, we should be talking of not implementing up to 20-30% of it. So the beauty of it will not be seen in the public. So we have to call on the executive to make sure that between now and May, all procurement processes should be completed. Letter of award releases to contractors, and then we have to talk to the finance. They have to probably look at the idea of centralizing the payment to over 700 MDAs in Nigeria to 1 or 2 offices in the Ministry of Finance. If contractors are on the field, they are working, and the payment is taking 2-3 months to be done, the work will not be done. And Nigeria will not feel the impact of this budget. So I want us in our various oversight functions to monitor the executive very well, to make sure that the beauty of this this budget is felt by Nigeria. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Wadala Leo, you have the floor. Then we
So very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I remain Senator Ahmed Wadada Aliyu, Sarkin Yakin Kefi, the famous horse rider. I represent Nasarawa West Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this is a very, very ambitious budget, unprecedented, Christian restoration, which of course should be commended. For anybody to be successful, the risk bearing of that person must be high. I salute the courage and the risk bearing of Mr. President to have come up with such a budget, which Nigerians had never seen before in numbers like this. Beyond commending the President, or reasons for commending the President, we all know the state of security in Nigeria. My colleagues have spoken on the merits or advantages of the various allocations. Security is the bedrock of every societal development. Without security, nothing can be achieved. So for security to have this high figure of 5 billion naira, which does not mean that that is good enough for security, but at least there is a paradigm shift from where we are coming from, or where we were. Permit me to say that in the aspect of infrastructure has gotten over 4 billion. Without infrastructure, particularly to be specific, electricity. Infrastructure is 4 trillion. Sorry. Security, okay, about 5 trillion. Particularly to be specific, electricity. In this day and age, 21st century, without electricity, there is virtually nothing that can be achieved. One of the objectives of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration is to make life worth living for the downtrodden. And if we are to go by that, everything possible within humanity should be brought to the table for electricity to be provided in Nigeria.
Your time is up, Senator. We have added 1 minute for you.
My time? Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my utmost concern or worries is the implementation of the budget. The president must put his foot down. And for us here as representatives of the people,
your time is obvious,
we must always be assertive of our authority. For any chief executive of MDA that refuses
Senator,
to respond to calls of the National Assembly should,
Senator Asuko Ekweyon, then Senator Patin Deputy.
Mr. President, am I done? Okay, I saw.